Good morning, all of you. നമുക്ക് ഇന്നത്തെ നമ്മുടെ ക്ലാസ് നമ്മുടെ പാവ്മെന്റിന്റെ ക്ലാസ് വളരെ സശ്രദ്ധം എല്ലാവരും കേൾക്കുക, മനസ്സിലാക്കുക. നമുക്ക് പാവ്മെന്റിന്റെ കൃത്യമായിട്ട് പാവ്മെന്റിന്റെ കൺസ്ട്രക്ഷൻ എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് അറിയാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ റോഡുകളെല്ലാം ഈ വിധം പൊട്ടിപ്പൊളിഞ്ഞു കിടക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ പാവ്മെന്റ് എന്താണ്, എവിടെയാണ് നമുക്ക് ഫ്ലെക്സിബിൾ പാവ്മെന്റ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് പറ്റുക, എവിടെയാണ് റിജിഡ് പാവ്മെന്റ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്, ഇക്കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കിയാൽ പ്രോപ്പറായിട്ട് എവിടെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യാന്ന് പഠിച്ചാൽ നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ റോഡുകളെ വളരെ മനോഹരാക്കി ഇടാനായിട്ട് സാധിക്കും. ഇന്ന് നമുക്ക് ജ്യോതി എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗ് കോളേജിലെ ആദിയപ്പൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാറാണ് നമുക്ക് ക്ലാസ് എടുക്കാനായിട്ട് വന്നിട്ടുള്ളത്. സാറ് നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടി സന്തോഷപൂർവം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഈ പാവ്മെന്റിനെ പറ്റി മനസ്സിലാക്കി തരാൻ വന്നേക്കാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ചേലക്കര പോളിക്ക് വേണ്ടി, നമ്മുടെ സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന് വേണ്ടി, നമ്മുടെ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിന്റെ പേരിൽ ഞാൻ സാറിനെ വളരെ സ്നേഹത്തോടെ, അതിലേറെ ബഹുമാനത്തോടെ വെൽക്കം ചെയ്യുന്നു. അതിനോടൊപ്പം തന്നെ നിങ്ങളെ ഓരോരുത്തരെയും ഇതിലേക്ക് ഞാൻ വെൽക്കം ചെയ്യാണ്. ആസ്വദിക്കുക, മനസ്സിലാക്കുക. ഓക്കെ, വെൽക്കം സാർ.
Thank you, teacher. So I would like to invite Adipan sir for this session.
First of all, a warm good morning to one and all present in joining this session. So I thank the management of Chelakara Polytechnic, especially head of the department. Then the Anita Jacob madam, especially she invited me to give the presentation in the area construction of the okay. Next, I would thank my management, Jyoti Engineering College. They give me permission to give a guest lecture in this topic. So thank you for one and all. With prayers, we will start this session. Thank you. We will start this session.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Visible. You can put in slideshow. Yeah, fine.
Okay, ma'am. So now we are going to discuss about the topic construction of the rigid payment. Okay, construction of the rigid payment. So first of all, I give a small introduction about the payment. So that is the payment is the second biggest infrastructure which is constructed all over the world next to the construction of the building. So much of money is poured into the construction of roads all over the India and as well as all over the world and in developing countries and developed countries like that to have a good connectivity. So with connectivity only, so the economic will get improved. So that is the transferring of goods from one place to the another. Okay. So as it is a very important structure, it should be durable. It should be sustainable. It should withstand all the prevailing condition on this earth. Okay, so this is the main important thing. Then as far as the payment is concerned, we are broadly classified into two types, that is flexible payment as well as the rigid payment. So all over the world, nearly 90% of the payment used is flexible payment, and now we started using the rigid payment because of its durability. So it can withstand for a period of 30 to 40 years minimum. So that whereas in case of flexible payment, that maintenance cost will be very high, and at the same time the life of the payment will be around 15 to 20 years, at maximum 25 years if it is constructed perfectly according to the standards. So definition of the payment. So what is payment? It is nothing but it is a way for the movement of the vehicle, so that way should be able to withstand the load coming from the vehicle, and it should withstand the environmental condition. So the payment, the meaning is that payment means spreading. Please understand, students, Pave means spreading. Meant means a spreaded material is meant together. So that we combined call it as pavement. So pavement means we are spreading the aggregate and you are menting through means of bitumen. So earlier we are having only the flexible pavement, that is using the bitumen, the pavement which is made up of the bitumen. So as a result, so this bitumen is the binding agent. It will hold the aggregate in a tagged condition. So that we call it as the pavement. Okay, so this is the case. So see here we are having two types of payment. So just before entering into the rigid payment completely, just I will give some comparison so that it will be easy for you to understand. So the rigid payment over the flexible payment. Okay. So see here, this is the flexible payment. So that is, it is black top. So that is a mixture of aggregate and bitumen. It is the topmost layer on the payment surface. So okay, so why the name it came as flexible payment is that the main important point is that it can able to withstand the load by means of some elasticity. Okay, so that is, it can, without application of the load, the payment will deform and it will come to the original position. So that we call it as the flexible payment. Because of its elasticity, we call it as, it is flexible payment. Okay, one of the main advantage of the flexible payment is that we no need to provide any joints. Okay, so what is the reason behind it is that each layer of the payment, so it will have some voids. Okay, so that expansion and contraction is accommodated by this voids present in the flexible payment. Okay, so this is the general thing, so that we no need to provide joints. So this is a major difference between the rigid payment and the flexible payment. So and so many differences are there, but we will concentrate only on the rigid payment. So this is the rigid payment. So that is nothing. It is a payment constructed by means of concrete. Okay, it is made up of concrete. So that we call it as the rigid payment. Why we calling rigid payment is that the deformation is very less. So on the application of the load, the deformation will be very less when compared to the flexible payment. It behaves as a rigid plate. Okay, so that we call it as rigid payment. Okay, then it has to be provided in the rigid payment. We have to provide the joints. Okay, so different types of joints we will discuss in later on. So why we have to provide joints is that any material in this world, okay, so any material in this world, so when the temperature rises, it will expand, and when the temperature falls down, it will contract. So as a result, if you are not providing any gap for the expansion and contraction, what will happen is that because of this temperature stresses, the cracks will be formed on the pavement surface. Okay, or any material. So in order to avoid such conditions, just we are providing the joints. Okay, so at specified interval, so that the pavement will not fail due to the expansion and contraction. So you have to understood that why then the flexible pavement we are not providing the joint. The question may arise. The reason is that the material will be in such a way that it will have some voids. Even the topmost layer, that is we call it as the surface course, it will have 3 to 5% voids. Okay, so in such a way that the Marshall stability, that is the bituminous mixture is designed. Okay, so that is the reason. While the increase in temperature, these voids will be expanded. The voids will accommodate the expansion, and during the contractions there will no need of that expansions. That is, the voids will be kept open. Okay, so this is the case. So see here, so behavior of the payment as far as loading is concerned. See here, it is here the load transfer mechanism is from grain to grain. So from one soil particle to the another soil particle, the load will distribute. Whereas in rigid payment, it will act as a slab or our rigid plate, that is our concrete slab, like that. So you please understand the components. First of all, you should have an idea about the components. So that is subgrade. So as far as flexible payment, the components is the bottommost layer is subgrade. So then we are having the base course, subbase course, then base course, and surface course. So whereas here in the rigid payment, so here also we are having the subgrade, then subbase course, then base course, and surface course. 1 minute, just I will so you should have this you should have the basic knowledge of the components of the payment. Okay, so as like the building,
that is we are having the substructures and superstructures like beam, column, slabs and all those things. So pavement also having the different layers. So you should not think that the blacktop portion or the concrete surface we are seeing is the only pavement structure. So it also has the so many layers like the buildings. So that layers that I have discussed here. Okay. So see here, so this is the stress distribution of wheel load in the pavement. That is when a load is applied. Please understand that if when a load wheel is applied, that is the through the wheel. So the load from the vehicle is transformed to the axle. From the axle, it is transformed to the wheel. So from the wheel, it is placed here. Okay. So in this manner, so the load distribution, so that is the stress created at the top portion is very high, and when it comes to the bottom, the stress is very less in the end. So but in the top portion we are having the high stress. So that is the reason we are providing the strong layer on the top surface and the less strength layers in the below surfaces in both the flexible pavement as well as the rigid pavement. So because of this mechanism only, please understand students. So at the top of the point of contact of wheel and the road surface, the load will be load distribution will be high and the stress created will be very high. So as the depth goes down, the stress will be reduced and it will be equal to 0 when it reaches 0.5 meter from the top surface of the pavement. Okay, so this is the case. Okay, so that is the reason. So then in the topmost portion we are providing these strong layers, and the below layer we are not providing such not providing the strong layer as like that in the top layer. So the next one is then horizontal stress under. So this is the horizontal stress. See here, are you able to hear? Any breaking of voice?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem. No problem.
Okay. So similarly, so on the application of the wheel load, so the slab will tend to bend. So that is compression zone. So in the top portion, the compression zone will create, and the bottom portion, the tension zone will be created. That is the tensile stress will be created in the top portion of the pavement. Compressive stress will be created. And another diagram. So that this third diagram, it represents the temperature effect. So because of the temperature, so as the pavement is exposed to the sunlight or the temperature variation, so the temperature because of the temperature, the expansion and contraction will take place on the top face of the pavement. So as a result, on the top face, the stresses will be more up to the depth of HP3 distance. Normally up to the top face only. So some layer that stress is due to the temperature is very high. So below that it will be constant. Okay. So this things this is the basic knowledge about the stress distribution with respect to the load and as well as the temperature. Okay. So the stresses are created on the pavement because of the two factors. One is due to the wheel load and another one is due to the temperature effect. So that there are so many classifications also there. Okay. So that we no need to discuss now. So just we'll see in a minimum level. That is enough up to your course content. Okay. You may ask that. So comparison of ordinary concrete and pavement quality concrete. So as far as rigid pavement is concerned, the topmost layer we are laying. So see here the surface course is what? A concrete layer. Okay, that is mixture of post aggregate, fine aggregate, binder content and water. Okay. So this is the components of the material we are using in the concrete. So we know that concrete, what is the concrete? It is a mixture of post aggregate, fine aggregate, water and the binder content, that is cement. And nowadays we are using geopolymer as a binder content in developing countries. Then you may ask, what is the difference between the ordinary building concrete and the road concrete? Okay, that is concrete which is used in the construction of the pavement. So what is the difference? So there is the ordinary concrete is nothing but it is a brittle material. Okay, so it is a brittle material. It is weak in tension, strong in compression. That we all know. So in order to overcome the less tensile strength, we are introducing the steel reinforcement. Okay, so that the concrete with the presence of steel reinforcement, it can able to withstand the what? It can able to withstand the tensile stress or the flexural strength and the compressive strength. Okay, so this is the main thing. So in order to avoid the corrosion of the steel reinforcement provided on the ordinary concrete, we are providing the concrete cover, thick cover we are providing, so 20 mm, 40 mm depending upon the exposure condition of the structure. Okay, so this is the case. So this is general detail about the ordinary concrete that we are used in the building. Okay, so see here the broad classification depending upon its parameter is that, so in ordinary concrete we need the two parameters, that is compression as well as the flexural strength. The main important factors required is compressive stress. It should be able to withstand the compressive stress and the flexural strength. So normally when a beam is loaded, what will happen? The beam is subjected to bending, it is subjected to shear, it is subjected to what? Compression. So torsion, like that it will occur. So in order to withstand that load, that the concrete should have the enough strength, some M20 grade, that is the 20 Newton per mm square after 28 days of curing. So flexural strength, depending upon the flexural stress created due to the loading condition and the span of the beam, that flexural strength will be recorded. So depending upon that, we will provide the reinforcement. Okay, so this is the general requirement of the ordinary concrete which is used in the building construction. So it should important. The concrete should possess a high compressive strength as well as the flexural strength. Okay, so these two parameters are important factor. So whereas in case of pavement quality concretes, that is the concrete which is used for the construction of the road pavement. Okay, so it should require the compressive strength. So it should require compressive strength. It is also very important only. But when compared to compressive strength, the other parameters are very important. Okay, so that is the flexural strength. What is flexural strength? So that is resistance to the bending. So that strength we call it as flexural strength. For example, I have told already, the concrete slabs are laid as a slabs. Okay, as a slabs. So when a load is applied, what will happen? It will bend. The bending action will take place. So it should have the enough flexural strength. So already you will then the question will arise. Why we are not providing reinforcement? Just we are only providing the double bar in the joint. We are not providing any reinforcement in the PCC, plain cement concrete pavement. Why we are not providing reinforcement? Like that you may ask. So for that question, we are having the answer in the coming slides. I will tell in detail why we are not providing the reinforcement, but how we compensate the flexural strength record. That I will explain later. Okay. See here, flexural strength. Then energy absorption. So as far as energy absorption is nothing but when a load is when a vehicle in a axial, the load will transfer to the wheel. From the wheel, it will transfer to the pavement surface. So that load has to be absorbed. Then only that reflection of the load will not happen. So it will lead to vibration. Okay. So that this can be observed in why this energy absorption is very important. Just I will explain with example. For example, if you are moving on a flexible pavement, okay, so that is the pavement made up of bitumen. So because of its elasticity, we feel very comfort when you are traveling on a vehicle. So suddenly if you pass on a bridge, so it is made up of concrete structures. So you can able to observe the vibration on your vehicle, even though it is a costly vehicles or low cost vehicle or high cost vehicle, whatever the vehicle. So you feel the difference. You are moving on the flexible pavement as well as the rigid pavement. So the reason is that the energy absorption capacity of the concrete is very less when compared to the flexible pavement. So the pavement which we are using, the concrete which is used for the construction of the rigid pavement should have ability to withstand the we should be able to observe the energy coming from the wheel load, then impact strength and fatigue resistance. That all those things I explain one by one. See here, compressive strength. So see here in ordinary concrete, please understand students, the load can be it can be infinity. Okay, so that we cannot say infinity like that. If you want to design a column or beam to withstand some 30 kilonewton or 100 kilonewton, you can design it. Okay, so by means of providing the record section, that is breadth and the breadth and length and breadth and height of the column. Okay, so that size will be varied and the grade of the concrete will be increased. Okay, this is the case in the ordinary structure. Okay, so as a result, the major stress developed is compression and the tension. So in order to overcome the compression, we will increase the grade of the concrete. To overcome the tension, we will increase the steel reinforcement. Okay, then if any other things like torsion or any other thing is coming, shear stress, then we will provide the reinforcement, shear reinforcement and torsional reinforcement to arrest the torsional stress or the shear stress. Okay, whereas please understand, student, here is the important point. As far as the pavement is concerned, the load on the axial is limited to 10.2 tons as per Indian condition. In foreign countries, they have increased the axial load to some 14 point something kilonewton, like that. But as far as India is concerned, the load which is transmitted to the road surface will be 10.2 ton by a single axial. So axial means what? So two wheels connected by a rod, we call it as axial. So for example, in the lorry, so we are having front axial. That means it is connected by two tires with one rod. That we call it as axial. Okay. So and back and other things are there. So in the back side, we are having the similarly, that is axial, we are having single tire or a dual wheel assembly. So that and all in the design aspect, it will be very, you have to go very interior, then only you can able to understand. So please understand that. So the load transmitted on the point of contact by the two tires connected by single rod is 10.2 ton. In no case the load will not exceed 10.2 ton on a single axial. Okay, so you keep it in mind. Then you may a question may arise on you. So in a road we are seeing, sir, that 40 ton lorries or 50 ton lorries, big lorries are going on the road surface. Then how are you saying that only 10.2 ton load is transmitted on the road surface? What they will do is that if a lorry is carrying a 40 ton or 60 ton of load means, then they will increase the axial. So 60 ton means how much axial they will provide? Anyone? They will increase the axial. So instead of load transmitted on the axial, they will increase the axial. So anyone please, for example, if a 60 ton lorry is moving on a road surface, then what is the axial they will provide normally? Around?
Sir, can I interrupt in between?
Yes, madam.
I just want to make the question clear to students. നമുക്ക് ഒരു പെർമിറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ട് ഒരു ആക്സലിൽ കൂടെ വരാവുന്ന ലോഡ് പെർമിറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത് മാക്സിമം 10.2 ടൺ ആണ്. പക്ഷെ നമ്മുടെ ലോറികൾ, കണ്ടെയ്നർ ലോറികളൊക്കെ കണ്ട അത് മേ ബി 60 ടൺസ് ഒക്കെ ലോഡ് എടുക്കുന്ന വണ്ടികൾ നിങ്ങൾ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടാവും. അപ്പൊ എങ്ങനെയാണ് അത് മാനേജ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുക എന്നാണ് ചോദ്യം. ഒരു സിംഗിൾ ആക്സലിലോട് 10.2 ടൺസ്. സോ ഹൗ ക്യാൻ യു മാനേജ് വിത്ത് ഹ്യൂജ് ഓർ ബിഗർ ലോഡ്സ്? അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും എന്തെങ്കിലും ആൻസർ പറയാമോ? ചാറ്റ് ബോക്സിൽ ഇട്ടാലും മതി. ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ക്ലിയർ ആയി എന്ന് വിചാരിക്കുന്നു. If you have any difficulty in understanding, you can mention that in the chat box.
Okay, so as the vehicle size, vehicle carrying capacity increases, then automatically they will number of.
Sir, you got
so
certain
the load transferred.
You got certain answers in the chat box.
What,
I think you got certain answers in the chat box regarding that. I will read out the answer for you. One student answered, Atul Krishna answered 5 axle, tandem axle. These are the answers they have given. Tandem axle with the dual tires.
Yes, madam. Yes. So that is normally what we will do is that as the load carrying capacity of the vehicle increases, automatically we will increase the axial, like tandem axial, tritium axial, like that. They will increase it. For your understanding, I have told you that if the vehicle for every 10.2 ton, they will increase one axle, like that. Okay. So, but we are having some standards, that is tandem axle, tritium axle. So, for depending upon the capacity of the vehicle. So, anyhow, the load distributed at the point of contact between the two wheels or on a single axle will not exceed 10.2 ton. Okay. Next, flexural strength. So as the pavement is as pavement is a plate, a rigid plate, when a wheel load is moving on the particular top surface, what will happen? The plate will tend to bend. The concrete surface, the slabs will tend to bend. Okay, so because of this, the concrete which is used in the construction of the road should have enough resistance to bending action. Okay, so the flux resistance is very important. Next one is energy absorption. That I have told that for every action, according to Newton's third law, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So when a load is put on that particular road surface, it will be reflected to the vehicle. So if it is reflecting completely, means then the vehicle will get damaged soon and we will feel discomfort. So in order to avoid such condition, the pavement should have good energy absorption. So impact resistance. For example, I have told you that. So in order to accommodate the expansion and contraction, what you have to do? We have to provide the joints. So as a result, when a wheel is moving from one slab to the another slab, the impact action will take place in the edge of the slab. So the concrete which you are using for the construction of the pavement should have enough resistance to withstand the impact load. Okay. So next, fatigue resistance. So what is fatigue resistance? Normally in the ordinary building, so the load we will fix it. We will fix it. So 1000 kilonewton, 2000 kilonewton, or some 20 kilonewton or 80 kilonewton, whatever it may be, we are fixing. Based upon that, we are providing the section and we are providing the reinforcement, all those things that I have told. As far as the road pavement is concerned, the wheel load is limited to 10.2 ton. So because of the passing of this 10.2 ton axle repeatedly, the pavement will failure. So that is fatigue. Failure means nothing but the failure due to the repeated application of the load. I will give one example. You take a coconut. Okay, so coconut with shell. Okay, you take a coconut with shell. Okay, and you hit it with the 5 mm rod. Whether the coconut shell will break or not? Dear students, please. How many number of hit is needed to break that shell? Anyone? Dear students, you take a coconut with a shell. Okay, if you are hitting with a 10 mm rod, okay, how many number of strike is needed to break the approximately? You tell me how many number of strike with the rod is needed. Strike is needed to break the shell from the broke the shell of coconut. Please, anyone? Three or four is enough. With 10 mm rod, you can break the shell. With 3 or 4 hit, you can break it. Okay. Anyhow, by using some 2 mm rod. Okay, 2 mm rod, you are hitting the coconut with shell. I'm telling with the whole full coconut coming from the tree. So if you are given 2 mm rod, okay, and you are asked to hit the coconut surface, the coconut shell has to be removed. How many number of blows it requires? Approximately you tell. 3 or 4, okay, good. You tell me. 6 is enough. Okay, then I will reduce the size of the rod. For example, some with 2 mm rod you have given only 2 mm of steel rod, and you are asked to hit the coconut with shell to remove the shell. How many number of blows it requires? I am telling only 2 mm rod. 2 mm means you assume that it's like needle. How many number of blows it requires? Please tell me. Please interactive. So please be interactive. Then only I can able to keep the class alive. Please tell me.
എക്സ്ക്യൂസ് മീ സാർ, ചോദിച്ചത് എന്താന്ന് വെച്ചാല് ഫുൾ തേങ്ങയായിരുന്നുവെങ്കിൽ, കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള തേങ്ങയായിരുന്നുവെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു 2 mm റോഡ് കൊണ്ട് എത്ര പ്രാവശ്യം, എത്ര എഫേർട്ട് എടുക്കേണ്ടി വരും, എത്ര ബ്ലോസ് കൊടുത്തിട്ടായിരിക്കും അത് പൊളിക്കാനായിട്ട് പറ്റുക എന്നാണ് ചോദിച്ചത്. തെങ്ങിന്ന് കിട്ടുന്ന ഫുൾ തേങ്ങ. ഓക്കെ, അതാണ് ഉദ്ദേശിച്ചത്.
Yes, madam. Yes, you have told that 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 1 lakh times you have to strike it. So normally it is infinite. So we cannot break with 2 mm rod with the given blows. So for n number of blows, it won't break even if you are using 2 mm rod. Please understand. Okay. For example, in a road surface or any in your house, n number of ant is moving on the surface, the surface will be get affected? No. For example, if a single time, if a elephant move on that particular place, what will happen? The entire slab will be get broken. So this is the concept we are using in the road construction. So if a load is very, very less, it will not provide any impact on the failure of the road pavement. And if the load is very high, okay, so that is 10 point more than greater than, for example, the axle load is greater than 10.2 ton, means what will happen? On a single passing, it will fail. The road will be get broken and it will be splitted into splitted. So they have limited the load to 10.2 ton. So the load will not exceed 10.2 ton. Okay, so with certain number of repetition of this 10.2 passing, the road will failure. Okay, so the road is the thickness of the pavement is determined only for the number of repetition, not the load. Please understand how much number of repetition the road can able to withstand. For that only the pavement is being, for that only that rigid pavement or flexible pavement, both are being designed. Okay, so please understand, student. So that is the 10 for if a 10.2 ton axle, how many number of passings? For example, 20 years it has to the life of the is 20 years example. So you are calculating the n value in the formula, you will calculating. So how many number of repetition would occur for this 20 years? So for example, some 20,000 million axle or 20 lakhs million axle may expected. So for passing that, for passing 20 million axial, the thickness of the pavement will be provided. Okay, so not the thickness is not provided for the maximum load like the 10.2 ton or any other thing. So it is the thickness of the pavement is determined for the maximum number of expected repetition of the axial load. Okay, so the number of axial passing. Okay, so now we will come to the coconut. So that is if you are hitting with a 2 mm rod, so it will not broken. So if you are hitting with 50 mm rod with one time, if you are putting, then the coconut will split into two. So if it is 10.2 ton, if you are reducing to some 20 mm rod with some 2000 repetition of blowing, it will broken. So likewise, based upon that, we have fixed that the road surface, the load applied, load which is acting on the road is limited to 10.2 ton. If a 10.2 ton is passing as a single axial, one single movement, 10.2 load is 10.2 ton load is passing, means how many repetition the road surface can be withstand. For that, how much thickness you have to provide. So that this is how the pavement is designed. Okay, so you please keep it in mind, all those things. So that is fatigue failure. So the concrete we are using should able to withstand the fatigue resistance. Okay, so now we will come to the pavement quality concrete. So now here we are having so many questions that see here. So as far as pavement quality is concrete is concerned, okay, so as far as the concrete which is used for the construction of the road pavement, so they will use the minimum grade of M40 grade and M40 grade. Why they are using M40 grade? Anyone? Why they are not using M20 or M30? So that as according to the IRC code 2015, now we are having 2015 IRC 15 2015 we are having code. So we have the minimum grade of the concrete record for the construction of the pavement is M40 grade. What would be the reason why we are not using the low grade concretes? Do you have any idea? I will tell you. So that is already I have told. The concrete is subject to so many flexural stress and tensile stress because of the bending action due to the wheel load, and due to the temperature stress, the slab will tend to what? The slab will tend to warp. Okay, see here, I will show you. See here, so this is the loading condition. So the wheel may be in this position or in this position or in this position. Okay, so then because of this load, the slab will tend to bend. Okay, then due to temperature, so in the daytime, the top face of the pavement, the temperature is very high, and the lower face will be temperature is less. So because of this reason, the top portion will be expanded and the bottom portion will be contracted. So that is, it is bottom up split. Okay, so in the daytime, in the night time, see here, during the night time, what will happen is that during the night time, what will happen is that the top face temperature will be very, very less when compared to the temperature in the bottom of the slab. So as a result, the slab will warp in this manner. Okay. So because of this is warping stress. Okay. Then because of the loading stress, the slab will tend to bend. Okay. Then this stresses has to be the concrete slab has to withstand this bending action. So for this we need a minimum grade of M40 concrete. What is the reason? So why you are saying that compressive stress is M40, that we need only the flexural strength as the slab is subject to the bending. But you are saying that M40 grade concrete is needed, that is compressive strength should be high, like that. Why you are asking? You may ask, the question may rise. The reason is that even though the concrete is weak in tension, it also has some flexural strength. Okay, please understand, student. Even though the concrete is strong in compression, it will also have some tensile strength. So what is the tensile strength? Tensile stress in the concrete is that 0.7 square root of FCK. So the flexural strength of the concrete or tensile strength of the concrete is equal to 0.7 square root of the FCK. That is, FCK means compressive strength of the concrete. So if you put in the place of FCK 40, what is the flexural strength? Please tell me. In IS 456 2000, we are having the code. The flexural strength of the plain concrete is equal to 0.7 square root of FCK. So FCK means what? Target mean strength of the concrete. Target mean compressive strength of the concrete. So you put FCK is equal to 40. What is the flexural strength you tell? Yes, students, please tell. So according to IS 456, a plain cement concrete also will have the flexural strength. Okay. So that is, the formula is 0.7 square root of FCK. So in the place of FCK, you put 40. You are using M40 grade. I have recommended that only the concrete which is grade greater than or equal to M40, you have to use it. Okay. So that reason I will tell you. Yes. What is the value? Yes, students, please. 0.7 square root of FCK. It will come around 4.2 Newton per mm square. Am I right? Yes, 4.42 Newton per mm square. So see here. So the flexural strength required minimum is 4.5 Newton per mm square. Okay. So you have got 4.42 Newton per mm square. So in the field condition, you will get 4.5 Newton per mm square. So that what is the reason is that, see here. So because of this compressive, because of the bending action due to the wheel load, because of the temperature stress, the bending action will take place. So the total flexural strength create on the slab will be less than 4.5 Newton per mm square. Please understand, sir, that. See here. So the flexural stress created on the slab will be less than 4.5 Newton per mm square only. That is 4.5 megapascal. Okay. So if you are providing the M40 grade concrete, that in the plain cement concrete itself have the flexural, itself can able to withstand the flexural strength of 4.5 megapascal. Okay. So if you are using M40 grade concrete, so then even in the plain cement concrete, we are satisfying the required minimum flexural strength, that is 4.5 Newton per mm square. So this is the maximum stress which is induced on the pavement surface due to the wheel load and the temperature stresses due to the warping or frictional stress and so on. So that is the reason they are using M40 grade. As we are not using any reinforcement to enhance the flexural strength of the concrete. So only we are using the plain cement concrete. So you always keep it in mind. Okay. So we are not providing reinforcement to inherit the flexural strength. Just from the plain cement concrete itself, we are having some flexural strength. So that flexural strength will withstand this bending action due to the warping or due to the wheel load or all those things can be beared. So that is the reason we are recommending M40 grade concrete. Okay. So that we can achieve the required flexural strength of 4.5 Newton per mm square flexural strength in the concrete. Then the slump record is 15 mm plus or minus 10 mm. Okay, so we are using only low workability concrete as we are using slip form method of construction nowadays. So if the slump is very high, what will happen? As you make mold, as you make concrete to mold the concrete to record shape, and you slip from as the form is slip, the shape will be rearranged, collapsed. So that is the reason we are using the slump low concrete. And another thing is that concrete with low water cement ratio only we can achieve the maximum strength. We know the ratio, we know the relation between the water cement ratio and the compressive strength. So as the water cement ratio is less, the strength will be achieved higher. So with the minimum cement content and with minimum water cement ratio, we can achieve the maximum strength also, so that it will be economic. So that is the reason. In the economic point of view, we are using the plain cement concrete, but anyhow we need some minimum flexure strength. We are using the high grade concrete M40, so that we can get the record minimum flexure strength, that is 4.5 Newton per mm square in the concrete. Then we are using the slump of 15 mm plus or minus 10 mm. The reason is that it is a roller compacted concrete or slip form concrete. So if a slump is very high, the concrete will collapse after your molding to the record breadth and width. So that is the reason. Then the material used, that is the aggregate, that is fine aggregate or coarse aggregate, that used will be according to the gradation IS 383 code. Okay, so this is the case. So the another stress create on the pavement, rigid pavement, is that as a whole slab is resting on the some surface. Okay, if the slab is expanding, what will happen? The contact of the slab and the surface, so the opposite force will be, the frictional resistance will be created in the opposite direction. So because of this, the stress will be created on the bottom of the slab. That stress is called what? Frictional stress. Here the frictional stress is what? Compressive. Okay, so whereas when the slab is contracting, so when the temperature is very less, so then it will lead to the formation of the frictional stress at the bottom of the face only, that is at the point of contact of the surface and the concrete slab. Okay, so now we will move on to the construction of the rigid pavement. Okay, so before that I will explain the components of the CC pavement. Okay, in the rigid pavement itself, so where the rigid pavement is needed. Okay, so in the place of heavy rainfall, so we are having flexible pavement, it is less construction cost. Then why should we go for rigid pavement? So this rigid pavement is applicable in the place we are having the heavy rainfall and the soil which is having poor soil condition, then poor drainage place and extreme climate condition, and combination of above this condition, we have to go for this rigid pavement construction. So it will have the major component is that subgrade. Okay, so this is the bottommost layer of the pavement. As in the flexible pavement, the madam will explain. You may explain. She may explain. She will be. She would explain about this subgrade. So for here also, the bottommost layer is the subgrade only. So if the subgrade layer is enough strength, is having the enough strength, then the top layer record is very less. Okay, so if the subgrade strength is poor, then the layer which is constructed above the subgrade record will be higher. So the subgrade is one important factor which determines the thickness of the overlying layer. Okay, so this is the subgrade. Okay, so this is the platform for the construction of the upper layers. So sometimes it may be at the cutting portion, or sometimes it will come under the filling portion. Sometimes the natural ground level may be adopted as the subgrade. So but according to new code and all, in the flexible pavement, the minimum CBR value record is 5%. Okay, if the CBR value is less than 5%, what we have to do is that we have to remove the soil for a depth of 0.5 meter, and you have to bring the borrowed soil which is having high CBR value, that is some 8 or 10 CBR value. So then you have to find out the effective CBR value of this place, that should be greater than 5%. Okay, then above which we will go for a layer that we call it as drainage layer. Okay, that we call it as drainage layer. So the main function of this we call it a subbase layer. This layer is also called as the subbase layer. This is called, other name is called drainage layer. So what is the function of the drainage layer is that, so the water coming from the bottom due to the capillary rise, or the water coming from the top through the joints, or water coming from seepage from the side due to the seepage because of the water bodies in the adjacent layer. So that water has to be drained off in the lateral direction. So for this, they will provide the layer that is called subbase layer. Okay, that layer is called what? Subbase layer. So this layer we call it as GSP, granular subbase. It is open graded type. What is open graded? So the particle size distribution will be in such a way that the voids will be more. Okay, so that the water can drain off through the voids in the lateral direction. Okay, then over which we will go for the layer that is called dryling concrete. Over which we will go for the layer called dryling concrete, that is DLC. Nothing but it is DLC means nothing but it's a mixture of the like PCC concrete, that is 1:4:8 or 1:5:10. So that low strength concrete that we provide over the drainage layer, that is called subbase layer or dryling concrete. See, this subbase layer or dryling concrete is needed if in the place where the subgrade soil is poor. So in the design aspect, so many things are that. So that we can, if you discuss means it will take long time. So we avoid the such things, that you keep it in mind. If the subgrade soil is poor, in such condition, to enhance the pavement stability, we will provide the dryling concrete. Okay. So if the subgrade soil is good, we no need to provide the dryling concrete. Over which only we will provide the M40 grade concrete slabs. That is the top surface. Okay. So now with the code, I will explain you what are the material requirements. As the time is moving very fast. This is the recent code IRC 15 2017. Okay. So this code has to be followed for the construction of the rigid pavement. Are you able to see the code, yes, students? Are you able to see this code? Please, students, you reply through your voice.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So for the construction of the pavement, so we have to use. Please understand, student, as you are studying the books. So please, as you are a UG student, you are nowadays you are following the books. So it is written by some faculties like me or your HOD or some other faculties or some other persons. So as the technology is upgraded in the codes only. So for example, if you may follow the Panna and Justo book, it is written 10 years back or 20 years back. So it may be outdated. So for real-time application, so each and every civil engineer in the field or any places, they will use only the current codes for as a reference. Okay, for whether a design engineer or architect, whoever it may be. So they will follow the standards as according to the government produce. So every year or every 5 years, they will modify the code. So as you please understand, students, you should follow the code if you are coming to the real-time application. So for have a crisp knowledge and to understand the things easier, we are following the books. Your faculties are suggesting the books. So but as far as the in real-time application, you have to follow only the code. Okay, so everything we are having the code, how to construct the pavement, how to design the pavement, how joints should be provided, where the joints should be provided, how daily, what is the expansion joint, everything we are having the code. We have to each and everything we have to follow the code. Okay, so just in the IRC 15 they have given about the construction, what are the codes we have to use it. Okay, so we can use the cement, that is ordinary Portland cement. So 43 grade, 53 grade or 33 grade. So any of the cement can be used, but the concrete should attain the strength of M40 grade concrete. So then we can use the other cements like composite cement, Portland cement, and any other cement we can use it. Okay, so with the inclusion of 5% of admixtures we can add. Okay, so this is the chemical admixture. So admixture means nothing but it is a chemical which is added with the concrete. For example, a concrete will be manufactured at one place and it has to come to the construction site of the pavement. In such case, you have to delay the setting time. Then we will use retarders. Okay, so likewise, so many chemicals we may need to use. So you can see the code. Okay, that is IS 9103. So in that they will provide the detail about the admixtures. So normally we will use initial setting time. To delay the setting time, we will use retarders. Okay, then air and draining agents. Okay, so in the case of so many admixtures we are having, so that admixtures we will use it. Okay, so that should not exceed greater than 5% of the cement. Okay, so that is the main thing. Then the aggregate used should be, maximum size of aggregate used in the concrete is concrete is 31.5 mm. Okay, so here the fly ash we can use up to 25%. Okay, so then you can use GGBS blast furnace slag, so that slag can be replaced up to 50%. So then silica flame you can replace up to 10%. So then metaclean, it is type of clay content, so it can be added up to 700 to 900 meter square per kg. Okay, then aggregate used. Okay, so for the construction of the concrete. Okay, so clay lumps should be less than 1%. Coal and lignite should be less than 1%. Okay, so this is the case. So the 75 in the 75 micron sieve passing, the natural sand, so it should not be greater than 3%. Whereas in case of crushed stone we are using, it should not be greater than 12%. Okay, so if you are using the blended material, then it should not exceed 8%. See here, this is the fine aggregate which is used for the concrete. So it should satisfy any one of these zones. Okay, then this is the gradation particle size distribution record for the construction of the dry lean concrete. Okay, if you are using the dry lean concrete, so the aggregate should satisfy this requirement. So the particle size distribution, so in the 26.5 mm sieve, that it should pass 100 mm. Then in 19 mm sieve, it should pass, the particles should pass 75 to 95%. Okay, so this is the requirement. Okay, then for pavement quality concrete, so we are using one type of aggregate, that is maximum size 31.5 mm. So another size, that is maximum size is 19 mm maximum size. So this is the particle size requirement for the aggregate broken stones required in the construction of the PQC. Okay, so the aggregate used should satisfy any one of this gradation. Otherwise, the aggregate cannot be used for the construction of the pavement construction. Okay, so then water, double bar, all those things they have explained here. Filler, joint, sealing. So how it should be, like that they have given. So nowadays they are using fibers also. Okay, so there is the fiber. Normally they are using some 8 to 3 micron fibers they are using. So length they are using from 6 to 18 mm. Specific gravity, these are their properties. So that why we are using fibers is that in the case of extreme climatic conditions, like very hot temperature and then followed by the very cold temperature in the place of Rajasthan, like those places, more shrinkage and expansion will take place. As a result, more warping stress will be created. So if you are providing these fibers, this fiber will inherit some extra tensile force or flexure strength. As a result, the pavement can extend for a long period. So this is the case. So that I have told you, that is the compressive strength, that is flexure strength is equal to 0.7 square root of FCK. So the maximum cement content is what? 450 kg should be allowed. So beyond 450 kg, we should not use cement. And the minimum cement content is 360 kg in case of OPC, PPC and PSC. Okay, in case of GGPS, the minimum cement content is 310 kg per meter cube. Okay. So for this upgrade preparation, okay, so this is the these are the equipments needed for the construction of the pavement. Okay, so everything they have given. Okay, see here the compacting equipment, water device, water cans, mortar grader, whatever, puck mill, tampers, that I will explain you. Please 1 minute. See here, this is the subgrade. Okay, so in order to prepare this subgrade well, what you have to do is that you have to loosen this soil. Okay, how we have to construct it, that I will explain. That now I am explaining. So what you have to do is that you have to loosen the soil first of all, whether the soil is in good soil or bad soil or borrowed soil, whatever it may be. You have to loosen the soil. You have to take the sample and you have to go to the laboratory. In the laboratory, you have to determine the density of the soil. So you have to increase the water content. So from water, as the water content, the initial with water content, with increase in water content. So for example, without water content, you have to compact it and you have to find out the density. Then you have to increase the water content 2%, 4%, 6%, 8%, 10%, 12%, 14%, like that. Okay. So what will happen is that as the water increases, the density also increases. At particular point, the density falls down. The reason is that initially the water will facilitate the compaction. So beyond certain limit, the water content will occupy the voids and it will reduce the density, lead to bleeding like that. So we have to find out the moisture content. That is the water content at which the density is maximum. That is called maximum dry density. For example, 2.16 gram per cc is obtained in the laboratory. So of that 2.16 gram per cc, you have to achieve the density of 98% in the field. Okay, please understand. Otherwise, what will happen with the further application of the wheel load? So when the vehicle moves, so it will consolidate and it will compact further, and a settlement will occur. This settlement will be reflected on the upper layers also. Okay, are you able to understand, students? So that is, you have to loosen the soil. You have to take the soil to the laboratory and you have to find out the density, maximum density at the optimum moisture content. The density, maximum density at the optimum moisture content. That moisture content should be maintained in the site, and the density of the laboratory, that is the 98% of the density which is achieved in the laboratory, should be achieved in the field, and it is finished. Over this, you have to lay the drainage layer or GSP layer. Okay, then so how the aggregate particle size distribution should be, that I have explained you. In between the pavement quality concrete and the subbase layer, we will provide some thin geosynthetic sheets we are providing. The reason is that what? In order to separate the, as the slab will expand and contract. Please understand, student, that this topmost slab, that is pavement quality concrete, will expand and contract. So as it is expanded, the slab will move. So if you are not providing any polyester sheets here, what will happen? Frictional stress will be created between this slab and the DLC, and some stresses will be created, unwanted stresses will be created at this point, and the crack will be created. So in order to avoid the free movement of the, in order to provide the free movement of the PQC, we are providing the polythene sheet, that is geosynthetic sheets, between the dryling concrete and the pavement quality concrete. So you may ask that why we won't provide any joints in the subbase layer. So we no need to provide joints in the dryling concrete. The reason is that it is a 1:4:8 concrete. You will have the record high voids. So that voids will accommodate the expansion and contraction. So this is a, you have to make this pavement quality layer, this PQC issue as an independent layer. Okay. So this is the material requirements. So if you are using the materials, the flakiness and elongation should not greater than 35. Water absorption should not be greater than 3%. So when it is subject to soundness test, if you are using the sodium sulfate solution, that loss should not greater than 12%. If you are using magnesium sulfate, the loss should not greater than 18%. Okay, so the fine aggregate and all those things we have seen in the code, I have told you. Okay, so this is the thing. Please see here. So normally the slab is see here. So this is the bottommost layer, subgrade. So this is a drainage layer. Okay, then this is the concrete pavement. So in case if the subgrade is poor, then we have to provide dryling concrete. So the topmost layer we are constructing as a slab only. Okay, see here as a slab. So normally the slab size should not exceed 4.5 meter. Okay. So for example, if the here why we are they are laying as a 2 strip longitudinal direction is that, for example, the pavement is 7 meter. So then I have already told that the width of the slab should not exceed, width or length of the slab should not exceed 4.5 meter. If you are putting 7 meter like this, means then it cannot accommodate the expansion and contraction. It will lead to contract. So in order to avoid this, we will dividing this 7 meter into 3.5 meter, 3.5 meter. This length may be 4.5 meter. So this joint we call it as transverse joint or contraction joint. Okay, please understand, student. This joint we call it as what? Contraction joint. So this is this longitudinal, the joints on the longitudinal direction we call it as what? Longitudinal joint. So this is in this contraction joint itself we will have the expansion joint also. Okay, so don't confuse the contraction joint and the expansion joint. I will explain later. Okay, so this is longitudinal joint, this is transverse joint. In the transverse joint itself we are having two types of joint. One is contraction joint, another one is what? Expansion joint. Okay, so this is the case. So this is how you have to lay the pavement as a slab. Okay, so in between the joint there will be gap, that is the joint width maybe 2 through 3 mm. So what we will do, that I will explain. So see here, this is the compacted layer of the subgrade, so over which they are provided the GSP, then over which they are provided the this is what dry-in concrete. So what we have to do is that we are constructing the payment in two ways. Okay, so we are constructing this rigid payment by two ways. So one is by means of slip form method, another is by means of permanent form method. Okay, so that I will explain you one by one. Before that, I will explain the joints. So see here, this is the expansion joint or a contraction joint will be in this place. This is longitudinal joint. So what is the function of the joint is that this double joint is that in the contraction joint and the expansion joint we will provide the double bar. Okay, so it will bear the load. Okay, so when it will keep the slab in the same level and it will transfer the load in between the slab. So this is the function of the double bar. So tie bar also function is to keep the slabs in the level. Okay, so this is the double bar. Okay, so this is the finished this is the widened groove after 14 days for having the final finish of the joint. So see here, this is the contraction, this is the joint. So that is contraction joint. See here. So we are providing the double bar at the distance of h by 2. On the top we are providing the rod. Then a groove will be cut out. Okay. So in the groove we will fill it with the filler and then over which we will seal it with sealant. So that we call it as contraction joint. So nowadays we are using this type of joint only. So at the end of construction only we are providing the expansion joint. Please understand, student. At the end of construction only we are providing the expansion joint. Otherwise, for every 4.5 meter we are providing only the contraction joint. That is enough. Okay. So this is the double bar. Okay. So contraction joint with double bar. Okay. So in the double bar also I will explain you. See here, this is the expansion joint. Okay. So as far as expansion joint is concerned, at the end of the construction, what we'll do, we will finish it. So we will keep in such a way that this rod is fixed to the concrete, the other rod will be in this manner. So this is the next day construction concrete. So here we are using the plastic sheet. Here we are having some expansible gap will be there. So this rod can freely move in this direction. So when the slab is expanding, what will happen? This rod will come here. Okay. So that is a double cap. We call it as double cap. It will be around 7.5 centimeter. Okay. So 7.5 centimeter. So it will be, we are filling with compressible material. So when the slab expands, so this will be compressing. When the slab contracts, what will happen? The rod will come to the original position. So this rod in the one end, the rod can, over the rod, the concrete slab can move. So that is the case. Normally we are using 25 mm dia bar. The length of the double bar is 500 mm long. So spaced at a distance of 250 mm center to center distance. So but in design aspect it may change. So for general I am saying you. Then the filler width is filler depth is around 25 mm. Okay. So it may be plus or minus 3 mm. Okay. So this is the case. So here this is the double bar. So with double cap. Okay. So this is the expansion joint. So at the end of the construction day, so in the another day, they will start from here. So see here, what is the function of this double bar? If you are not providing the double bar, what will happen? So the slab will settle down. So as the wheel moving from one slab to the another slab, so this load will bear the stress coming from the wheel and and another function is it will keep this slab in the level. Okay, see here, here the sealer. So at the time of construction, it will be like this. So when the slab is expanding, it will expand and the sealer will reorient it. And when the slab is compressing due to expansion, what will happen? The sealant will come to the top. So here it is filled by filler material. Okay. So then quality, all those things. Then after construction of the pavement, in the fresh concrete time itself, you have to scrub it with the wire brush to have the enough. Two types of construction, that is slip pave construction. Another one is fixed construction. So by this we can able to see. See here, this is the DLC layer over which the sheet will be placed. I have already told now. Are you able to see the video? Dear students, are you able to see the video? Okay. See here, I have told you that this is the over the dryling concrete. I told you we will provide the polythene sheet, that is geosynthetic sheet. What is the reason? The concrete which is slabs which is constructed over the sheet able to free to move over the surface. Otherwise, the frictional stress will be created at the bottom of the concrete, and it will create some problem, or that it will create some cracks. So, in order to avoid this, we are providing these sheets. See here, the concrete of M40 grade concrete is bring to this equipment here. So see this video. So this is the paver machine. This is slip form paver machine. Okay. So in the current industry, so in 2020-21, this methodology we are using. So the concrete which is of M40 grade, which is manufactured in the batching plant, is taken to this site, and it is placed on the one side. Okay, other side. So you please slowly. Now the concrete is leveled for the record to maintain the record depth. So that thickness of the slab is determined in the design aspect, depending upon the wheel moving, axial load, and wheel climatic condition. All those things, the thickness is evolved. So here the concrete is bring here, and it is leveled. It is roughly leveled. Okay. So this is the paver machine. So in the paver machine itself, see here. Here you can fix the thickness. Okay, how much thickness you need, that can be fixed. Then the camper record, that slope can also be maintained here. It is automatic. So if you want 2.5% slope or 1.5% slope of camper, that we can maintain it. See here. So I have told you earlier, we will fix the double bar and we will pour the concrete. So now they are laying the concrete and they are producing the double bar. See here. So this is the double bar. So one side is provided with what? Sheathing, plastic sheathing. So that is the slab can move in the one side the slab can move. See here, the concrete is compacted and it is vibrated. See here, for the record thickness. Okay, this is the double bar. Okay, so for every 4.5 meter they will place it. So it is not expansion joint, it is contraction joint for every 4.5 meter. See here, now the plain concrete is only compacted. Okay, so the concrete is placed, it is vibrated, compacted. Okay, then this double bar is placed for every 4.5 meter. So how in the machine they are automatically fixing this double bar. So in earlier we have to fix it manual. It is very difficult and it will cause so many errors. But nowadays it is not the case. Please watch it keenly. So this is the double bar. So the plain cement concrete is laid, then this double bar is inserted automatically. So this is the slip form. See here. So this paver will move at a rate of 1.5 meter per minute. Per minute it will move only 1.5 meter. Okay. So see here, this form is moving in the backward direction. See here. So the concrete is laid. As it is compacted, laid, then the form is moved slowly in the backward direction. So that is slip form. Are you able to see this? As you are laying, the form will move in the backward direction. See here. So otherwise we have to mold it. It is very difficult. See here how this double bar is inserted. So this is the slip form method of rigid pavement construction. Please you watch it. So the spacing will be given, length of the rod according to that it is given in the machine. So then it will be placed inside. See here. See here. the double bar is pressed inside the fresh concrete. Okay, for every 4.5 meter. That is contraction joint. Okay, next day what they will do is that the concrete will undergo initial setting, then we will cut over the center of the double bar. See here, so we are having the finishing. So we are having the smooth finishing. Okay. Next, this is the manual method. So manual method of construction. See here, we have to prepare the mold like this. It is not slip form method. So we are preparing the mold according to the width. Okay. Here the concrete is poured here, and by means of needle vibrator it is vibrated. Okay. So see here, it is a fixed form method. Okay. So the manual labor is required more, but there and all you no need the labor more. The machine will do automatically everything. But here the concrete is compacted by means of this vibratory roller. But the form is, it is not slip form. It is what? Fixed form. See here, and the double bar, all those things you have to fix it manually. It is very difficult. There is chance for the more errors also. Okay. See here, so the finished concrete surface will be smooth like this, but we need a rough texture. Okay, we need a rough texture. So see here, so here it is the wire brush. Okay, so with the wire brush they will create some groove. They will cut a groove while the concrete is in the fresh stage itself. So after the concrete is hardened, then it is difficult. So here they are creating some rough texture, so that there will be some groove will be there. So there will be there will be a good friction between the concrete and the tire surface. Okay, so that we are texturing. So in the next day, what they will do is that, so where the double bar is placed is noted. So on that they will cut up to the depth of HP3 distance, up to the double bar depth. Then they will fill it with filler. Then they will complete it with sealants. Okay, thanks for your kind opportunity, madam. So with this I conclude my session. Okay, madam. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Then I would like to invite Kishore to say a few words.
Hi, sir. This section is very useful to me and my friends. I can understand lots of things to this section. Sir is very detailed in the section is telling road construction, rigid pavements, the load of the axles and also. So thank you, sir, and Jyoti Engineering College for this wonderful section. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I also thank to Anita Jacob, madam, head of the department of Chelakara Polytechnic, and our HOD Vinci Miss, and especially Jishakara, madam.
So thanks a lot, sir, from our side. It's a privilege for us to have a good session with from your side. It's regarding the rigid pavement construction. We could understand various aspects of pavement construction, especially concrete pavement. What are the things we have to look into while constructing a concrete road? So even though our students do not have much background regarding construction of road pavement, I think they could get some glimpse of some information regarding the pavement construction. But what I believe is whenever my students get a chance to know something new, don't hesitate to attend such kind of sessions. Only by hearing unknown things, you will be learning. So I take this opportunity to extend sincere gratitude to Dr. K. Yethiyappan and Jyoti Engineering College Civil Department for giving such a nice presentation
And on behalf of the entire department, I would like to extend gratitude to all of my students also. And I find that many students from other colleges are also there in the participant list. I would like to thank all my dear students for your cooperation and for your patient attending this particular session. And I have a request that I have put that link for attendance in the chat box. So before leaving, you please just click on that link and mark your attendance also. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Shall I leave the presentation?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.